Hi friends, how are you all doing today? I hope you're doing great. Are you guys tired of seeing my face yet? I feel like all you stare at is my face right here. Sorry about that. I sure do miss you guys though. Hey, so I have to tell you about something. Jiggly computer. So we've been talking about light, right, and how it travels. So last week we talked about translucent, transparent, and opaque. Do you guys remember the three differences? Transparent let how much light through? Almost all light through, right? Remember we talked about if you had a transparent window, you could see your parents on the other side and you'd say, hi, Mom and Dad, because it's transparent. You can see through it. It lets all the light through. And then translucent. What was translucent? Do you remember? So translucent was it lets some light through. Remember, you lose a little bit of the light. You translucent. You lose a little bit of the light. You can still see shadows and you can still see behind it, but not all that light's coming through. And then opaque. Remember opaque? What did that mean? How much light comes through on opaque? None, right? Opaque, and we said, oh no, where did the light go? That's right. Good job, you guys. And then the week before that, we talked about communicating with sound waves, right? Our sound waves can travel through the air. Our sound waves can travel through objects. Remember when the sound traveled through the string, through the hanger, and up to our ears? So how about communicating with light? Normally, we communicate with sound, right? Today, we're going to learn about communicating with light. But before we begin, I need to tell you guys about something that happened to me last night. So it was a beautiful day yesterday, and I decided to spend a lot of my time out in my front yard, just cleaning up, you know, raking up some leaves and pulling the old plants out, just getting ready for the spring. And my daughter and I, we had been playing earlier in the day, and she had decided to go into her room, and her bedroom, her window is right at the front of my house. And so I was working out in the yard and the sun started to go down, and it wasn't super dark yet. It was still light enough to be outside, but the sun was just starting to go down. And all of a sudden I see my daughter's light in her room go on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. I thought, what the heck's going on? Not going to tell you the rest of that story yet. I will tell you the rest of it at the end of our lesson. So first of all, we are going to go listen to Doug. Doug has got some awesome news for us, an awesome experiment. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. Doug has a really cool experiment for us. So I'm going to grab Doug for us real quick. Okay, here's Doug.
Hi, it's Doug. What's the farthest away you've ever talked to someone? I don't mean like yelling across the playground. I mean like on a phone. Maybe you have a family member or a friend who lives far away. Maybe someone who lives even in another country. You can call them on a cell phone. You can even talk to them on video chat like FaceTime or Skype. When I was a kid, growing up in the 1980s, iPads hadn't been invented. Even cell phones weren't really a thing yet. Almost nobody had cell phones, and if you did, they were really big, like this. And they definitely didn't have video chat. If you could go back in time and show people an iPad back then, they would have been amazed. And if you could show people video chat, they would have been like, wow, something from the future. That's incredible. Back when I was a kid, I had a great-grandmother who lived too far away from me in order to walk to her house. So if I wanted to talk to her, I had to call her up on the telephone. No video, just our voices. But when my great-grandmother was a kid, almost nobody even had telephones then. Telephones had just been invented when she was a kid, and they were really expensive. If my great-grandmother wanted to talk to any of her family who lived far away, well, she couldn't. The best she could do was to send them a written message, like a letter. Today, we're all so used to being able to call up anyone, no matter how far away they are. But every device we use to talk to people, whether it's a cell phone or an iPad or even the kind of phone I had when I was a kid, all of these things had to be invented. People didn't always have these things. Imagine if you lived way, way back in time, before there were telephones, before there were even letters or mail. How would you talk to or communicate with someone who lived far away, what would you do? Well, the simplest idea might be to just try yelling, "Hey!" But that only works for so far. And then imagine if everyone around you was doing that too. That would get loud. Now, you might say, well, you could just invent a telephone. But telephones work using electricity, something that hadn't been discovered yet. So what could you do? Think about it. We can even make this a little simpler. Instead of using sound to send a message, what if you used light to send a message? Like, let's say you wanted to send a very simple message, a simple yes or no, to a friend of yours who lived down the block from you. How could you use light to do that?
What do you think, guys? How could we use light to send a message? While we're thinking about that, let's open our letter from Doug. Doug says, can you think of a way to communicate yes or no to someone using only light? All right, so let's think about it. Let's pretend that you are in your backyard and you're way on one side and your dad is way on the other side and you need to send him a yes or no signal. It's too far to yell. How can you use your flashlight to send him a yes or no signal? Think about that for just a second. All right, let's go on and see what Doug has to say.
If you wanted to communicate yes or no to someone using only a light, you could turn the light on to mean one thing, like yes, and turn the light off to mean another thing, like no. Or maybe you thought of a different idea. Yes could be one flash. No could be two flashes. There's more than one way to solve this problem. It might seem silly to you to use lights to communicate, but you know what? We do this in real life. Does this look familiar? Each color of the light sends a message to the person driving a car. You know what the colors mean, right? Green means go. What about this light? Well, you probably know this one means stop. So when you see this light, cars need to stop moving. All right, now I'm going to show you another light. This is a tricky one, this next one. Some grown-ups don't even know what this one really means. What does this light mean? Do you know? I'll pause a moment if you want to try to guess.
What do you guys think? Anybody know what the yellow light means? If you do, shout it out. Let's continue our video, see if you're right.
Okay. This yellow light means to be careful and to prepare to stop because a red light is coming. Let's practice using these light messages by pretending that you're driving a car. We're going to play a little game. Stand up and find some space to move. When you're done with this step, click the arrow on the right.
Okay, is everybody standing up? Do you have enough space to move around a little bit? I don't want you to run into anybody else or run into a table or a wall. No, we don't want any of that. So make sure you have some good space around you.
Pretend you're a car. Put your hands on the invisible steering wheel in front of you and start your engine by making quiet engine sounds like this. Now, let's practice following the messages communicated to us by the lights. You know that when there's a green light, that means go. Run in place like this. But the yellow light is coming. When it's yellow, that message means slow down, like this. And when you see a red light, stop your car. Okay, go to the next slide and we'll start the game.
Okay, you guys ready? We're going to pretend to be cars and we're going to obey the traffic light.
Watch for the messages the light is sending and do what the light says. You're at a red light. You ready? Go! All right, you made it. Go ahead and sit down and watch the next video. In today's activity, you're going to send a secret message using light. When you were pretending to be driving a car, you got messages from the traffic lights. Green told you to go, yellow told you to slow down, red told you to stop. Now you are going to figure out how to send your own messages using colored lights. Let's say you want to send a message to your friend who lives across the street. The problem is you don't have a cell phone or an iPad. And it's nighttime, so you don't want to go knock on your friend's door or yell. Your friend's little brother is already in bed. In the classroom, you and a partner will come up with your own secret code that you can use to send a simple message to your partner. You can use your secret code to tell your partner to do things like hop on one leg, or bark like a dog, or do a thumbs up, or anything you can imagine. You'll be given 3 different colors. Each color can mean something different. And remember, your colors don't have to match a traffic light. Instead of meaning stop, red could mean hop on one leg, or it could mean jump up and down. Now, your partner will be on the other side of the room when you use your secret code to send a message. So just be sure that whatever your code tells you to do, your partner can do it by themselves. What will you come up with? I'll show you how to get started, step by step. Get your supplies. You'll get more.
You missed one.
Find a partner. When you're done with this step, click the arrow on the right.
All right, so you guys are gonna have me as your partner, okay? So you can do this after with a brother or a sister or a mom or dad. In fact, that would be a super fun game to play later. But for right now, I'm gonna be your partner.
Get your supplies. You'll get more later. Each person will need a worksheet, and each group will need red, green, and blue markers.
Okay, so your worksheet is included in the link with this lesson. Have mom or dad print it out for you. You're gonna need 3 markers. It does not have to be blue, red, and green. You guys can do any colors you want. Just make sure they're very different colors. You don't wanna do red and pink. They're too similar. And you don't wanna do orange or yellow. They're too similar. So make sure you have 3 very different colors.
Completely fill in each circle on your worksheet with a different color. The darker you make them, the better. It doesn't matter what order the colors go in, as long as you do all 3 colors. It's okay if you go over the lines a little.
Okay guys, if you need a minute, you can pause your video to fill in your worksheet, or you can fill in your worksheet after you're done being my partner, because I have already filled in my worksheet.
Talk with your partner to come up with what each color should mean. What messages do you want to send? For example, one of the messages could be, wave to everybody.
All right, everybody. So like I said, I've already done my worksheet. And so for red, I have clap hands. So everybody clap your hands. Good job. Blue, I have jump. Everybody stand up and jump a couple times. Good job. And my green, I have spin around. Now I don't want you to spin and fall down, so just spin around 1 time. So what do you do on red? Clap your hands. How about blue? Jump. And green? Spin around. Good job.
Write down what each color means. Make sure you're writing your messages next to the same color your partner is.
So guys, since you're going to be my partner, if you just want to write down so that you don't forget, red is clap hands, blue is jump, and green is spin around, you can. But if you can just remember that in your head, then you don't have to write it down and you can save your paper for later.
Get 2 flashlights, one for you and one for a partner. Make sure they both work.
All right, if you do this activity later with a different partner, then you'll need 2 flashlights. But since you're just doing it with me right now, I already have one flashlight and that's all we need for now.
Hold your worksheet up with one hand and shine your flashlight over the different colored circles. Can you see the color coming through the other side of the paper? Try moving your flashlight closer and farther from your worksheet. Does anything change? What position would make the best signal?
All right, let's see if this is going to work. Let's see if you can see the color through my worksheet. Can you tell the colors? Not very well. It'll get better when we turn off the lights.
Take a few seconds to decide between you and your partner who's going to be the first one to be the sender and who will be the watcher. Now don't worry, you'll both have a turn at each job. Okay, you ready to take a few seconds and decide? Go ahead now.
Okay, like I said, since you have to be my partner, I'm going to be the sender and you could be the watcher. If you do this activity later, you can work with your partner and you guys can
Okay, have you decided? Go to the next slide. It's time to turn off the lights and cover any windows.
All right, you guys are going to go on a little ride with me. We're going to come on over here to the light switch. We're going to turn off the light switch. And it just got nice and dark in here. Don't be scared.
Both of you go to opposite sides of the room. Don't forget to bring your worksheet and flashlight. Here's how it will work. Sender, send one message using your worksheet and flashlight. For example, this sender is sending a red light. Watcher, do what the message says. Like maybe red means spin, so the watcher should spin. After you send one message, go to the next step.
Okay guys, I'm gonna send you a message. I'm gonna back up a little bit. I'm gonna shine my light and I want you guys to do whatever my message is telling you to do, okay? Do you remember what each color means? What does red mean? Clap your hands. Blue means jump and green means spin around. I'm gonna make myself bigger. There we go, that's a little better. Okay, are you ready? Good job, guys. Let's go back and see what Doug wants us to do next.
Switch roles and do it again. Then keep going. Each person do 3 turns. Do whichever colors you'd like. When each person has gone 3 times, then go to the next step.
Okay, guys. So, like, I am your partner. I'm sorry that we can't do this both ways, but like I said, you can do this with your mom or dad or brother or sister later. Okay, again, red means clap your hands, blue means jump, and green means spin around. I'm gonna start out slow, but I'm gonna get faster and faster. I wanna see if you guys can keep up. Are you ready? Here we go. Did I get you going pretty fast? I bet I confused you there at the end. Let's see what Doug wants us to do now. Oh,
Sit down and discuss. After you discuss these questions, advance the slide to watch the final video.
All right, so Doug is asking us a question. Let me turn on the light so you can see me. There we go. So Doug is asking, could you send a message to each other using only light? What do you guys think? If you think you can send a message to each other using only light, give me a thumbs up. If you think you can't send a message to each other using only light, do a thumbs down. I hope you're doing thumbs up. I sent you guys a message using only light, right? Yeah. All right, Doug's next question is, how could you send more than 3 messages using just 3 colors? What ideas do you have? Okay, guys, so let me get my paper back here. I have 3 messages for you. Remember, clap, jump, and spin. What if I wanted to tell you to quack like a duck? I don't have any more colors. Can you think of a way I could add quack like a duck without adding another color? Let's see if Doug has any ideas for us.
So how could you come up with more than 3 messages using just 3 colors? Well, there are lots of different ways to solve the problem. Here are 2 ideas we came up with. For one of our ideas, we used a flashing light to mean something other than a solid light. For example, while you might have a solid red light mean wave your hands, a flashing red light could mean something different, like jump on 1 foot. Here's another idea we had. What if you switched quickly back and forth between 2 colors to mean something different? For example, if green means jump and blue means spin in a circle, then maybe switching back and forth between the green and blue could mean put your hands on your head while spinning in a circle. Now, all of what we just did was useful for communicating to a friend in the room or a friend across the street. But what if you wanted to send a message using light to an entire city? Well, let me tell you one last story. It might help get you thinking about some new ideas. There was once an inventor who invented a giant flashlight that he could use to shine a message up onto the clouds. Now, this is true. This really happened. He called this invention the sky projector. His dream was to be able to send messages to everyone in a town using this giant flashlight. For example, he tried to project the time up onto the clouds to act like a clock so that everyone in the town could always know what time it was. He even used his sky projector to send holiday greetings to everyone during the winter season. But the sky projector turned out to cost too much money. It needed lots of electricity for a light that was so bright, and it was really heavy. So it was decided not to make any more sky projectors. But the idea of the sky projector really excited people. It got them thinking. It led the creators of a comic called Batman to come up with the idea for the now famous bat signal, if you've ever heard of that. In the story of Batman, when the city of Gotham needs Batman's help, they turn on the bat signal, a giant light that has the shape of a bat over the light, so that Batman can look up and see when he's needed. Maybe you can think of a way to make your own bat signal. What kind of message would you want to send to an entire city? Think about that. Have fun and stay curious.
All right, guys. Let me get rid of that real quick. Okay. So did you see how if I wanted to send you a third message, if I wanted to have it be quack like a duck, I could have done maybe flashing red or flashing blue or back and forth between red and blue, right? I'm totally communicating with you guys through light. You didn't need any of my words. You understood what I was trying to get you to do just by the color of light that I was showing you. I have a challenge for you guys. So right now is a really tough time. We can't go out and play with our friends, and it's kind of tough, isn't it? Do you have a friend that lives across the street or very, very close that you can see their house? Well, what you can do is you can email this sheet, or you can just write this down. You don't even need to have this sheet. And you can make up some codes to share with you and your friends. Maybe you can tell your friend red means wave really, really big at me, and blue means make a silly face. And then you guys can stand in your front yards or at your windows with your flashlights at night and your sheets, and you can send messages back and forth to each other. You don't have to have just 3. Remember, we could do combinations. Red and blue together could mean something, or blue and then green together could mean something. But that might be a fun thing to try since we have to be stuck in our homes right now. If you guys do that, I would love to know how it goes. Let me know what some of the fun things that you're doing with your friends are with the colors. And so I started this lesson telling you guys a story about my daughter. And so she likes to help me when I prep my lessons, and she was helping me with my color sheet. She was coloring the circles for me. And so when I was outside doing yard work and all of a sudden her light started flashing on and off, on and off, on and off, I went running into the house to see what was going on. And she was just sitting there, and I said, Izzy, why is your light going on and off, on and off? And she goes, well, I just wanted to know if you'd bring me a cold drink of water. And I said, and why were you flashing your light? And she says, because I knew you were outside and that you would see it and come in and see what was going on. So she totally communicated with me through light because she had learned all about our lesson earlier in that day. All right, so we learned that people can communicate with lights. How about animals? Can you guys think of any animal that communicates with light? I'm going to show you a really cool animal that communicates with light. So I need to bring that up. Give me just a second. All right, here it comes. Here we go.
I love summer. Days are long, we get to eat lots of delicious frozen treats, and it's when I get to go outside on warm evenings and look for fireflies. If there are fireflies where you live, you've probably wondered how they make that bright yellowish glow and why they light up in the first place. I know that I have, so let's see if we can shed a little light on what we know about these super cool animals. Fireflies go by a couple of different names. In the United States, where they're mostly found in the East, some people call them lightning bugs, and in Europe, they might be called glowworms. But none of these names are very accurate because fireflies aren't flies, bugs, or even worms. They're actually beetles. This means they're related to animals like ladybugs and Japanese beetles. And like many beetles, fireflies go through metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is the series of changes that take place over a certain animal's life cycle. Fireflies begin as eggs. Female fireflies lay their eggs underground where they hatch and become larvae. And both an egg and a larva of a firefly can glow, just like an adult. After about a year, the larvae move into the next stage of metamorphosis, called the pupa stage. This is where the insects gradually change from looking like long, lumpy larvae into the adults that we recognize. After they reach adulthood, fireflies only live for about a month or two. This is just long enough for them to reproduce, lay eggs, and start the life cycle all over again. And what fireflies eat depends on what part of the life cycle they're in. Larvae, since they live underground, eat things like snails and slugs, while adult fireflies eat pollen and nectar from flowers, or sometimes other fireflies. Still, other adult fireflies seem to eat nothing at all. Some scientists think this might be because they live for such a short time. And since fireflies and other beetles are insects, you know what that means. It means fireflies have what all insects have in common. They have 6 legs, and they have 3 main body parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And it's what goes on beneath the firefly's abdomen that makes it different from most other insects. Fireflies have a special body part beneath their abdomens that does one thing: it makes light. When oxygen from the air enters this part of the body, it mixes with special chemicals inside, causing the firefly to glow. Scientists call this glow bioluminescence, light that comes from a living thing. Scientists know how bioluminescence works in fireflies, but they're not quite sure how the insects are able to turn it on and off in a specific pattern. That's a question that they're still studying. But scientists do know a lot about why fireflies flash. First, flashing probably sends a warning to predators, just like some flashing lights send warnings to people. A firefly's light sends a message to hungry animals that their glowing bodies taste bad, so they should stay away. Flashing is also a way that fireflies communicate with each other. The blinking pattern might tell other fireflies not to get too close to their homes, or it might help fireflies that are of the same kind or species to identify each other. And sometimes the flashing might be a signal that one firefly sends to another to attract a mate. In many kinds of fireflies, the female can't fly. Instead, she'll cling to a leaf or a branch, flashing her light when she sees a male fly by. And you know what else? Fireflies are really fun to catch. If you decide to catch them, make your yard and house as dark as possible. Not only will you be able to see the fireflies' lights more clearly, but darkness will also make the insects flash more frequently. If you use a flashlight, keep it pointed to the ground so you don't scare the fireflies away. And as you're catching fireflies, be gentle. Like all insects, fireflies are really delicate. And even though some people might be tempted to keep them in a jar, you really shouldn't. If you catch one, it's best to just take the time to get a close look at it, admire it, and then let it go. Because remember, they don't live for very long. Summer is their time to shine. So happy firefly season and enjoy your summer. And thanks for joining us on SciShow Kids. If you have a question or just something you'd like to learn more about, let us know by leaving a comment below or emailing us at kids@thescishow.com. See you later.
Oh my goodness. Are fireflies awesome or what? I have actually never seen a firefly. Have you guys ever seen one? I would love to see one in person. I think I'm going to put that on my bucket list. I want to see a firefly. All right, guys, I have one more activity for you. Kind of a fun little thing to do. I'm going to grab mine real quick. All right, so we talked about communicating through light, correct? And we talked about traffic lights, because traffic lights are a way that we communicate to other people through light. Red means stop, yellow means be careful, and green means go. So you guys can make your own traffic light. Isn't that cool? So what you need is a paper plate and cut it in half. Actually, you probably want to paint it black first and then cut it in half. I just use paint, just regular paint to paint mine. But you can even use a marker, just a black marker if your paper plate was white. And then you're going to cut it in half. You're going to glue it onto a black piece of paper. Do a red, yellow, and green dot. And actually, the other half of your paper plate should go on the bottom. Mine fell off, and I don't know where it went. So I'm going to have to go track it down. But this is really cool. So let me tell you what my daughter did, because like I said, she likes to help me when I'm preparing my lessons. So we made this traffic light together. And I went to leave my house this morning and I started looking for my traffic light and I couldn't find it. And I looked all around, no traffic light. And so I went to my daughter's room to see if she knew where it was. And guess what was taped on her door? Yeah, my traffic light. It was taped on her door. And she had a paper clip right here, right by the red light. And so I walked in her room and I says, Izzy, how come you have my traffic light? And she says, Mom, I want to keep it. It's really cool. I can communicate to you what's going on in my room. She says, when I have the paper clip by the red dot, you know that that means that I'm doing my homework and I'm listening to my teacher. So if you come in, you have to be very, very quiet. She says, if I have the paper clip on the yellow dot, it means that I'm just reading and you can come in, but I am still doing schoolwork. And if I have the paper clip on the green dot, it means that I'm just playing. Come on in and play with me. I thought that was a super cool way for her to communicate with me. So you guys can do that too. If you make a traffic light, I would love to see your traffic lights. Send me pictures of them, but you can put them on your door and you can communicate with brothers or sisters, moms or dads. But like I said, I'd love to see pictures of them. So guys, you did great today. I think it's amazing that we can communicate with more than just sound. We can also communicate with light. If you guys can think of any other ways that we communicate with light, I would love to know. Send them to me and I'll include them in next week's lesson. What other ways do people communicate using only light? All right, guys, it's been fun. You're awesome. I can't wait to see you again. Bye.